Donald Trump's motion to delay the New York criminal trial for hush money payments is denied. Trial is scheduled by Justice Juan Merchan for April 15th. That threw Donald Trump into an absolute panic. We've been covering a lot of Donald Trump's unhinged speeches and press conference and social media posts, but folks, this was as unhinged as I've ever seen him, combining just his overall unhinged behavior with the cognitive issues, with just the threats, and it was all over the place. And President Biden's campaign was quick to respond and issued a statement. I love them going on the offense, just talking about how weird and desperate and weak this behavior is by Donald Trump, including some posts where Donald Trump was trying to compare himself with Jesus earlier in the day, and then whining about not having money. It's just the whole thing, then whining that he has the money. It's just a bunch of whining. Trump did get bailed out, though, by the appellate division in New York. His bond obligations, not the judgment, the bond obligations got reduced from over $500 million to $175 million, which he has to pay in 10 days. And he claims he's got the money for it. And to be clear, the judgment is still $464 million, and the interest increases every single day. But essentially, because Donald Trump claimed that he was basically like indigent and he needed to be put on a payment plan, it's like the appellate division put him on a payment plan. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, absolutely absurd. But the new nickname for Donald Trump is no longer Pervert Hoover, which we coined here, which I think should stick. It's now Don Corleone. Don Corleone. And that's what people are calling him. And I just like that the Biden campaign is going on and taking the offensive here. We've got a lot to, there it is right there. Don Corleone in front of Trump Tower. For all of our audio listeners, there's an image of people writing Don Corleone everywhere in Trump Tower. I would not recommend that people do that, okay? Do not put Don Corleone in chalk.
Don't do that.
Definitely don't do that.
Definitely don't
Seriously.
do that. It's 4 years of MeidasTouch when the MeidasTouch concept came about. 4 years to the day. So happy 4-year B-Day to, frankly, this community. And I want to give a special thanks to everyone who was with us from day one, everyone who's with us today. This movement is nothing without the community that you have all created. And it's just an honor for us three to be a part of this community with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's go over all of this breaking news. But Brett and Jordy, we kind of talk about like the seesaw effect of news, right? Like started off, first off, Donald Trump with all these kind of panicky, bizarre posts, starts off the day like that. Then there's a break in the Manhattan District Attorney criminal proceedings, this kind of farcical conflict that Donald Trump kind of raised. Then we hear the New York Appellate Division reduce the bond obligations, and everyone, including us, was like, what in the world are you? Why are you giving him special privilege and advantage? Like, he doesn't need it. He's out there bragging that he has the cash and then whining about him. And then you had Justice Merchan say, I ain't delaying this April 15th criminal trial. You're going to trial. And Justice Merchan like obliterated Donald Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, in court. It was a disaster. So we had all of this kind of back and forth. And what I love too, President Biden just being like, all right, you kind of channeling what we talk about here, which is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It's just like, okay, you're behaving weird and weak and strange, and you're alienating normal Americans. Brett, Jordy, how are you?
I'm happy 4 years, brothers. Happy 4th, Midas Mighty. This is so exciting. I can't believe it. I still feel like, oh yeah, we started like last year, I still feel like it's all new and fresh, but I guess that's a good thing because every morning I wake up excited to take on the day. And I think one of the things that we've learned in these 4 years is that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so each and every day, we're going to be hit with some news that's not so great. We're going to be hit with some news that is great. And we're going to have to roll with the punches and go from there. Today was one of those mixed days once again. And we saw Donald Trump just being absolutely deranged within the courtroom. I do love this new Don Corleone nickname. Props to whoever came up with this. It was the very top trend on social media all weekend into this morning. And as we showed before, we're now seeing it like outside Trump International Hotel in Manhattan. People are writing it all over. But I just want to be clear that the pervert Hoover still a nickname. Like, that's not just because this nickname is here, it does not mean that nickname goes away. It's not a retired nickname. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
Good clarification.
I had to clarify for the fans out there. I had to clarify. But Jordy, how you doing? I'm excited to dig into everything also. How do you feel on our 4th, man? 4 years.
I'm doing great. Happy 4th, everybody. This is so wild, brothers. Happy 4th, Midas Mighty. Happy 4th. You know what they say, folks? The days are long, but the years are short. I can't believe it's our 4th anniversary.
Jordy, do you remember the day that we started MeidasTouch? I have vivid memories of the day. And I think we can get into this in our after show on patreon.com.
That's a great idea.
/MeidasTouch. But do you remember like the day, like 4 years ago that we started this?
Yes. I remember it very clearly, but we'll like you said, we'll save that for the after show because I think that's actually a perfect topic, Brett.
I love it.
Great call.
I love it.
One of the initiatives, too, as we continue to grow and expand on our 4-year-old birthday, we created this channel with David Arenberg called True Crime MTN, which is now the fastest growing true crime channel on YouTube.
I got to update this graphic. This graphic's way old. It only says a couple thousand subscribers, but we have gained 10,000 plus since this has even gone
Let's
up.
go.
So, all right.
We've heard a lot of feedback about people saying, hey, we'd love to hear hot takes on just some other legal topics outside of like the intersection of law and politics. And I've always said, well, not here on this channel. Okay. This channel is for that. So we're going to create another channel with one of the most accomplished lawyers in the entire world, David Arenberg. So you can go and subscribe there, True Crime MTN. But let's just get right into it. I like gloves off, President Biden, no nonsense, Dark Brandon, whatever you want to give him a call, whatever you want to call him. Here's what Donald Trump's been posting over the weekend. First, I should mention that in comparison to President Biden, who's been going around to all of the swing states and really just kind of speaking to the people in essentially every swing state, Donald Trump, he usually just holds like one event per week. And this past week, he held no events. And that's emblematic or symptomatic of the fact that Trump's basically run out of money. He's basically bankrupting the RNC. He's basically, at this point, his political action committees have been spending all this money on legal bills. But the one thing that Donald Trump is bragging about is that he hosted a golf tournament at his own golf club and then bragged that he won his own golf tournament. And then he posted videos about that this all weekend. He goes,
I got to say, it's very impressive, Ben, that every time Mar-a-Lago hosts a golf tournament, Donald Trump wins all the tournament. It's just the amazing consistency. Every time Mar-a-Lago hosts a tournament.
Elite athletic prowess that man has. It's just
everybody looks at that guy and goes, that guy's an athlete.
That guy right there, he's an athlete.
And by the way, someone by the name of Rick Riley wrote a book called Commander in Cheat, which documents how Donald Trump is known to cheat at golf his entire life. So it just goes to show you, at least he's consistent on bankrupting things and cheating on everything his entire life. And that'll bring us to the Manhattan District Attorney case in just a little bit. But here's Trump's post. It goes, "It is my great honor to be at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach tonight. Awards night to receive the club championship trophy and the senior club championship trophy. I won both! Exclamation point. A large and golfing talented membership, a great and difficult course." I mean, just when you see stuff like this would be the type of stuff we would be used to. Kim Jong-un and like Gaddafi and like dictators who Americans used to look at and kind of just mock. And the normal Americans still mock that, but like this has become the Republican Party. But
I think Kim Jong-un would blush at this. I think even he'd be like, that's a bit over the top, Donald.
And here's President Biden's response. "Congratulations, Donald. Quite the accomplishment." Congratulations, Donald. You're a big boy. To me, I think President Biden's also been speaking to mental health people and psychiatrists and psychologists who have studied the minds of dictators. And this is exactly how you have to treat a dictator. We've been steeped in all of that learning, and that informed a lot of the way we built this network about how you call out authoritarians. And we've had a lot of people who have, taught us that culty programming type stuff. And you got to mock it like that. You got to show it for what it is right here. And that's exactly what President Biden's doing there. And then again, you'll see today him calling out Trump for being weak. But just for fun, we had video that we previously shared that went viral. But this is what Trump's golf swing looks like. So just to be clear, look, I'm not saying that he's always bad at golf. I'm just saying that when you see this, I highly doubt that he keeps on winning. Let's just say
he beats the pros. He's better than everybody. Here it is.
Trump's shooting right now. Let's see if he can hit the green. Oh, he shanked it. Oh my God, I got that on video.
For those listening, people are filming Donald Trump from far away from his golf course. Trump completely shanks the ball, goes nowhere near the hole. And for those who don't know golf, the goal of golf is to get the ball in the hole, or at least as close to the hole, not in the complete opposite direction of the hole. So for someone who plays golf as much as Donald Trump does and brags about it, it makes up that he wins every single tournament like he's the dictator of North Korea. I'm going to present evidence to the court here on that one.
You know what could have made that video only slightly better or funnier is if it just stayed on him just a little bit longer to watch him drop the ball and take the shot again from right there.
By the way, there's other video clips out there though, that there's other video clips out there that we've posted before where one of the things that he does when he putts it, like if he's putting, like let's say it's a 10-foot putt, he'll putt it. And then as the ball's about to miss the hole, he'll pick it up and act like it was a gimme and that he made the shot. That's one of his kind of cheat moves as well. But, look, Trump posted that. I'm not going to show these other videos. He posted videos of himself playing golf over and over the weekend, like where he did a decent shot and people are like, yeah, great shot, Donald. That's what Trump was posting. He then posted from the Trump Golf Club social media accounts, congratulations to Donald Trump. Yeah. Congratulations to himself for winning. And then he had his press secretaries go out. Their entire message over the weekend was what a great golfer Donald Trump is. So watch this. This is Trump's press secretary melting down in a bizarre tantrum over President Biden's tweet right here. Here, play this clip.
Is there something here about the golf trophy back and forth? What's happening?
Well, I think that Joe Biden wishes he could swing a golf club as well as President Trump, never mind win a club championship, which President Trump did over the weekend, but Joe Biden could never.
All right, yeah, Baghdad Bob over.
That's just so you know who that is. That's the new Kayleigh McEnany, Caroline Leavitt or Leavitt. And she's out there she's out there doing like North Korea, Kim Jong-un stuff to like the nth degree. And, you know what the American people want to talk about? Not Donald Trump's golf swing. That's the American people wish that there are political leaders who are talking about issues that matter to the American people, like healthcare and social security and women's reproductive rights and the economy and increasing wages and protecting veterans and protecting seniors. And President Biden's out there going to swing states, providing plans, concrete, discrete plans to voters while Donald Trump is out there kind of doing that. We talked to Tennessee Brando, and by the way, we've partnered officially with Tennessee Brando's YouTube channel, and I know he's releasing a video on this. Subscribe to Tennessee Brando, by the way. We basically said, and Brando and I, and we were all on the phone together, Jordy, we were like, Donald Trump is like reverse Robin Hood. His whole thing is he steals from the poor and gives to the rich. And so he goes out there and he grifts off of Mr. and Mrs. Magadonia, and he'll take their social security checks and he'll say, look, the deep state's out to get us. All of the woke is out to get us. We need your money, please, please, please. And by the way, if you've seen some of the videos I posted, I mean, Trump this weekend was sending emails to Mr. and Mrs. Magadonia like every 10 minutes, another like deranged email. Please, they're going to take my property. I need you now. Please make them stop. Please, I need you to rush donation, over and over again. So he takes the money from the poor and then he gives it to the rich, where they hold these like Hunger Games style, like weird, dystopian, strange events at Mar-a-Lago, where they're like auctioning off chihuahuas for $10,000. And you've got like the OnlyFans models who are using Mar-a-Lago as their background for like their self-promotion. And you've got Alina Habba, who's wearing the Trump necklace with like MAGA wrappers with like fake gold necklaces with Trump's face on it. Like, it is so bizarre and dystopian that like they go from the poor and give to the rich. So Brando was going to do a video on the reverse Robin Hood effect of Donald Trump.
Are you telling me that not everybody buys a $17,000 purse with donors' money like Alina Habba did? It's not like what the average Joe in this country is just able to go out and spend almost $20,000.
I thought that Birkin bag was like $73,000.
Yeah,
Was it that much?
Yeah,
Is it that?
higher? It was.
Oh,
Higher.
it was like, no, it was 70. It was 70, not 70.
70.
Oh my God. I was nauseated by the idea of I would say my brain wouldn't even let me like process that somebody could even spend that much money on like anything. Other than like, yeah, on like a thing you hold and then you're just walking around Mar-a-Lago with it. The whole thing, it's just all so obscene. It's so obscene, and it's obscene how they've like brainwashed, quite frankly, such a large group of people in order to give these people money. It's absolutely batshit crazy. But one of the things I am curious with this bond issue is it's kind of almost like a sliding scale. It's like a test. All right, can you afford 460? All right, you can't afford 460. Can you afford 300? You can't afford 300. Can you afford 174? I guess we'll find out. You know, how rich is Donald Trump exactly?
I want to give you my take on it in a little bit, you know, and I'm horribly mad at the appellate division, because I just think that type of privilege would never be extended to any other type of people. I mean, Trump's out there bragging about having hundreds of millions of dollars in cash, and then he's going to the court and he's saying that he's basically poor and indigent. And, you know, you have this appellate panel that's like, okay, you know, you tell us you're poor, we'll give you a little bit of a break right here. And to me, that's just utterly absurd. But as I've always said before, and this is a common theme at the MeidasTouch Network and all of the networks that we've partnered with, is we can't wait around for anyone to be a hero, whether it's Jack Smith, Justice Engoron, Justice Merchan, an appellate division, the Supreme Court, whatever. Like, that's not what we need to focus on. Is pointing out the importance of our democracy, letting people know the stakes, talking about the issue. We can only control what we can control. And that's why I'm never like, oh, I need to be saved by this one or that. That's not how anybody should ever view any of this. Mm-hmm. We should be able to win with our ideas about democracy, about normalcy, about compassion, about empathy, about truth and facts. And we should be able to point out things like this, like when Donald Trump posts this in the morning: crooked polls, there should be no fine, did nothing wrong. Why should I be forced to sell my babies because a corrupt New York judge and AG said a fake and ridiculous number? I mean, we should want to elect leaders who fight for our country,
not losers,
who actually fight for Americans, and who don't go, oh, my babies, referring to buildings that his trust fund basically helped him secure growing up. You know, so we should be able to call that out and go, look, Brett, just put that up one more time right there so people can see what that looks like. Like, we should be able to say that someone who just even writes like this, right. I don't even care if he were to basically be writing about like anything like, hey, everybody, just want to let you know that today is Monday and it was a beautiful day outside and I wish everybody the best. Just if you wrote the way this looks, with like weird caps and referring to things like babies, and like just the way it looks is odd. Then when you get into the substance of it, it's even extra odd. And we should all be like, yeah, you know what? This person should not get the biggest job in the world. Like Like maybe if you want to do like a WWE cosplay fascist character, you can model it off someone who behaves like a WWE bad guy, but maybe not give the nuclear codes in a very serious world with very serious threats of someone who behaves like that. Or when we see someone who says things like this and compares himself to Jesus, maybe that's a warning sign as well. And that's what Donald Trump did this morning as well. He goes, receive this morning. Beautiful. Thank you. Isn't it ironic that Christ walked through his greatest persecution the very week they're trying to steal your property from you? But have you seen this verse? And then he goes on to attack Justice Engoron and others. And by the way, no one's stealing. You lost a court case. And in order for you to stay the enforcement of a judgment, you have to post a bond. And for everybody else, that bond amount is equal to the amount of the judgment with post-judgment interest included, about 10%. So that's what you owe. If any of us had a judgment against us, and all we would have to do is sell a property, in order to pay the judgment, would you feel bad for the person? No. You were found to have committed fraud. Sell one of your properties, and then you'll have the money to satisfy the judgment. This idea that someone's stealing his property, it's what New York law is if you want to stay the enforcement of a judgment. Here's the response, though, from the Biden-Harris campaign about Trump's posts and how Trump behaved at this bizarre press conference that I want to share with you in a little bit. But here's what the Biden-Harris campaign said for immediate release, March 25th, 2024. Statement on Trump's press conference. Biden-Harris 2024 spokesperson James Singer released the following statement on Trump's press conference this afternoon. Quote, Donald Trump is weak and desperate, both as a man and a candidate for president. He spent the weekend golfing, the morning comparing himself to Jesus, and the afternoon lying about having money he definitely doesn't have. His campaign can't raise money. He is uninterested in campaigning outside his country club, and every time he opens his mouth, he pushes moderate and suburban voters away with his dangerous agenda. America deserves better than a feeble, confused, and tired Donald Trump. Brett and Jordy, what do you think about that statement?
I think that it's fantastic to finally see Democratic campaigns, and the highest campaign of all, the campaign for the presidential race, and President Biden finally fighting back like this. I feel like for so long, I know we've gotten countless, replies over the years and emails and people asking us on like our Patreon Zoom chats, like, why don't the Democrats fight back? Well, I think what we're showing now is they are fighting back now, right? There's been a huge shift. And when we watch these Democrats in Congress, people like Jasmine Crockett, people like Jamie Raskin, people like Jared Moskowitz, and the way that they are able to deliver their message, right? The way that they're able to push back on all the shenanigans of these Republicans. And now when you see President Biden with this fast-paced machine that they have at the Biden campaign, something that I don't think has ever really existed in presidential campaigns, how they have this Biden HQ campaign account, which does an excellent job at rapid response clips, flipping the narrative, getting it exactly right every single time. And then you have these statements being released in rapid response. And then you have videos of President Biden himself being released very quickly after these moments happen. They are really taking charge of the narrative in a way that campaigns have not done for a very long time, if ever. And so I think it's great to see Democrats on the offensive here. And it's a breath of fresh air, quite frankly. What do you think, Jay?
No, absolutely. And it's to that point exactly, Brett, right? I feel like we hear all the time, like Democratic messaging, it's lacking the bite. I challenge that. I challenge you, the audience, who if you assume that to this day, I don't think that's a fair notion anymore. To Brett's point, we have Representative Jasmine Crockett, Jared Moskowitz, the Biden campaign, all incredible messengers for the just pro-democracy message. And they're not doing it in a boring way. They're doing it in a way that communicates it very clearly and just smart without pulling any punches directly to the American people. So
frankly, it's the one silver lining, Jordy, of Democrats losing the House by a narrow margin, because it kind of, I think, instilled this fight in Democrats that we had not previously seen. And I love to see them finally taking charge. And I ask you, the audience, people who say these Republicans are incredible messengers and outmessage Democrats. Tell me a good Republican message that's come out. Was it when they tried to get rid of IVF in states? Was that a great message? Was it something Mitch McConnell said recently that I didn't hear that was just so brilliant and convincing or persuasive? Or do they just lie all the time and make stuff up? I mean, that's easy to do, right? That's easy. It's harder to actually get through kind of clear, concise policy and to hit back on all these things that the Republicans are doing. That's a much more difficult job than just making stuff up on a daily basis.
Well, look, their big messages were, that there's a lot more crime now, which is just simply belied by the data. And Democrats have pointed out that there's actually much higher crime in red states, red counties, and red cities than in blue ones, if you just look at the data. And of course, I mean, crime is something that needs to absolutely be addressed, but crime was much higher when Trump was in office, and that's just the data and the statistics. You want to talk about some of the other messaging from kind of the Republicans, the whole thing, focus on the border, try to dehumanize human beings, refer to them as aliens, and then act like, they're invaders. I mean, that's how they treat people. I mean, using that kind of xenophobic and hateful rhetoric, I mean, to me, is not effective. Now, I think they raise important points about the border, and I think Democrats reflected that. And they said, okay, we agree that we should do something. Sure, let's have the most conservative, a real conservative Republican senator, James Lankford from Oklahoma, lead negotiations, and we will essentially agree to the wish list of James Lankford, the Republican who's been working on all of the issues for the border. Like, that was his big issue. We'll agree with it. Now, we want to make sure it's humane, where we want to come in. We want to protect minors. We want to protect the dignity of human beings, but we'll basically agree in principle to all of the things that Lankford wants. The Democrats do that. Donald Trump then says, do not support this Democratic bill, which was being led by James Lankford, the conservative Republican. And Trump says he wants there to be chaos because he wants it to be a winning issue for him. So now the Republicans own that issue. It's there. They don't want to fix it. And consistently, while the border is a major issue that's always reflected when you ask people about serious issues, I think people reflect the nuance now and understand the issue that it's Republicans who actually want the problem, because Trump said, I want this problem. Blame this on me. I'm doing it. This is a winning issue for me. Let's make sure we block any solutions. And I think Americans, now that we start reflecting on this binary race of Biden v. Trump, I think Americans want solutions. They don't want someone bragging about how good of a golf player they are and that they've won golf tournaments in their own tournaments. Americans want solutions to problems, and they want serious people. And that's going to be a trend and a theme I think we just see grow in the coming weeks and months. We've got a lot to discuss. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
Did you know that Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with more than 10,000 different kinds of plants and over 2 million happy customers? They have everything you could possibly want, like fruit trees, palm trees, evergreens, houseplants, and so much more. Whatever you're interested in, they have it for you. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to order online, and your plants are shipped directly to your door in 1 to 2 days. And along with their 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, they offer free plant consultation forever. I absolutely love Fast Growing Trees. By now, you have all heard me talk about the Meyer lemon tree I was able to buy at an amazing price. Fast Growing Trees has an incredible selection to choose from, and their customer service is incredible. And the best part, I save so much money by not using an overpriced landscaper. Whether you're looking to add some privacy, shade, or natural beauty to your yard, Fast Growing Trees has in-house experts ready to help you make the right selection with growing and care advice available 24/7. You can talk to a plant expert about your soil type, landscape design, how to take care of your plants, and everything else you need. No green thumb required. This spring, they have the best deals online, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get an additional 15% off their first purchase when using the code Meidas at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS MeidasTouch. FastGrowingTrees.com, code Meidas. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
Are you self-conscious about your smile due to stains? Are your teeth aging you? Popular food and drinks are known to stain teeth. Beverages like coffee, tea, and wine stain them over time. So what can you do to brighten your smile? Well, you should give Smile Actives a try. Smile Actives is safe, effective, easy to use, and will keep you smiling proudly. As you probably already know, I'm a big tea drinker like many people. You may be a coffee drinker, and over time I noticed my teeth lose some of their brightness that I was used to seeing. 97% of Smile Actives users in a clinical trial reported up to 6 shades whiter on average, all within 30 days. Simply add Smile Active's Pro Whitening Gel to your regular toothpaste. It's been formulated with polyclean technology to boost stain removal and deliver active whitening ingredients into the teeth's grooves and crannies to get better whitening. Smile Actives makes teeth whitening gel that can simply be added to your toothpaste every time you brush your teeth. So no change in your routine, no extra time, and no more messy strips, trays, or lights. People will start commenting on your whiter, brighter smile in just days. Smile Actives is the whitening boost your favorite toothpaste needs to give you the smile you deserve. Here's what you got to do. Visit smileactives.com/Meidas today to receive a special buy one, get one free offer with auto delivery plus free shipping and handling. That's smileactives.com/Meidas. SMILEACTIVES.com/Meidas. MEIDAS. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
Let's go. Amazing sponsors, by the way. Brett, just for the folks out there who are watching on YouTube right now and the audio listeners, but you showed your Meyer lemon tree. That wasn't like a stock photo of a Meyer lemon tree looking all pretty. That was your Meyer lemon tree from Fast Growing Trees.
I said when we were cutting it, I said we need to put an actual video of my incredible Meyer lemon tree. Yeah, and literally, I'm like so obnoxious with it. Whenever my friends come over, I'm like, you catch that Meyer lemon tree on the way in?
It's a great tree.
And sometimes they'll be like, yes. And if they say they didn't see it, I say, well, you got to go out and look at it right now.
Shout out Fast Growing Trees, man. Shout out Smile Actives. Check them out.
I'm using that too.
Same. It's working too. It's working.
Oh, absolutely.
It's our 4-year anniversary here at the MeidasTouch Network, and it's your 4-year anniversary for helping grow this community. So happy birthday to everybody out there. MeidasTouch 4 years ago was just an idea. We didn't know where we were going to take it, but thanks to all of your support, the Meidas Mighty, we're glad we took it here, which was always focused on the pro-democracy community first, and that's thanks to all of you. Let's talk about what's going down in the various Trump cases. Today's big hearing was the Manhattan District Attorney criminal hearing in the criminal case. It was scheduled originally for 2 days, but it just took a few hours for Justice Juan Merchan to dispense with Donald Trump and his lawyers' frivolous arguments. The proceedings began earlier in the morning where the party showed up, Trump with his lawyers, Todd Blanche, Susan Nicholas, and others. Manhattan District Attorney's Office showed up as well. When Trump's lawyers tried to announce that we're here and President Trump is present, Justice Juan Merchan immediately said, "Good morning, Mr. Trump," to make it clear, do not call him that in my courtroom. Justice Merchan basically read the kind of press release style motion that Donald Trump's lawyers filed that said, look, you've alleged that the Manhattan District Attorney engaged in egregious discovery abuses. It's your motion, Trump lawyers. Explain to me these egregious abuses. Trump's lawyers tried to immediately pivot because once they're in the courtroom, they can't do what they do in these deranged press conferences of Donald Trump. So they tried to say, actually, what we just found out was that more documents are now coming in that we just requested from the Department of Justice regarding Stormy Daniels. So there's there's more documents that are, that are needed at this time. And Justice Merchan says, why are you bringing this to my attention now? Why are you just saying this to me for the first time? And Why is the Manhattan District Attorney, why are they supposed to be responsible for third-party stuff? Is it your contention, Trump lawyers, that the Manhattan DA controls the Department of Justice? I know that's what you say for the press, but is that what you're arguing? To which Trump lawyers basically said, well, yes, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office should be aware of all of these documents and they're responsible for it. To which Justice Merchan said, can you show me a single case that says that? Because you're making very serious accusations against the people, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. You're making very serious accusations against this court and saying that we're somehow complicit in egregious prosecutorial misconduct, and you come here without the case law to back that up and without the factual record to back that up. It seems to me, Trump lawyers, that actually the Manhattan District Attorney not only fulfilled their discovery obligations, but went above and beyond anything that they were required to do at all. I'm done with this nonsense. We are going to trial on April 15th, come hell or high water. So ordered. And there you have it. Like, that was basically a very short recap of what went down earlier this morning. And in between that, during the lunch break, Trump got the news that the appellate division was reducing the $464 million bond amount to $170 million. To which, most legal commentators were like, what? How offensive? How absurd is that? So Trump gave one press conference where he was celebrating that news. That was not a hoax to him. And then as soon as he got this order from another judge, he then said, this is all a hoax. It's all being done by Engoron, even though Engoron's not even the judge here. And New York Attorney General Letitia James and Biden somehow involved in this. And it's all a hoax and it's all unfair. We're going to be appealing this order. I mean, there's nothing to appeal here. The court has discretion to set the trial date on April 15th. There's not an appealable issue. But let me show you this clip of Donald Trump after he leaves the courthouse, after Justice Merchan made minced meat out of Donald Trump and Trump's lawyers in a legal way. Here's what Trump had to say about that they're going to be appealing this. Here, let's play this clip.
This is a pure case of voter intimidation and election interference, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen. This case could have been brought by the DA, but they didn't want to bring it because they said they have no case. And then they bring it anyway. As you know, DA Bragg did not want to bring this case. He was forced into it for outside reasons, and it's a disgrace that it can happen. But this was a case could have been brought 3.5 years ago. And they decide to wait now, just during the election, so that I won't be able to campaign. We'll be appealing this.
Well, there's nothing to appeal there. And by the way, if you look at the timeline, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office had been investigating this. You have to impanel a grand jury. Donald Trump uses every tactic, like we've all seen now, to delay. The indictment was brought over a year ago, or close to a year ago at this point. And this had been the result of a ton of investigation, a ton of effort by Trump to try to block the investigation. And now you have an indictment. That's just the process. The wheels of justice turn slower than we'd like. And what Trump does is try to use every lever to delay. I mean, most innocent people want to actually get in front of a jury or get in front of the court to prove their innocence. Trump's whole plan is delay, and hope that through the delays, you can exploit the different administrations, different district attorneys. Maybe something happens over time. That's Trump's play.
Yeah, well, that's why having a good judge is so important. And you really start to see, I think everybody could really see whether you have a law background or don't have a law background just the difference between a judge that actually knows the law and is able to kind of keep control of their courtrooms versus judges who may be a little weaker or completely don't know the law at all, or are purposely subverting the law, like a Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida. But you see with Judge Merchan here, he's one of these no-nonsense judges who's not putting up with these lies. He's not putting up with the gaslighting, and he sees right through all the attempts of Donald Trump and his attorneys to turn this into a circus, to try to add on all these extra delays, and he called them out directly for it. And Donald Trump and his attorneys have become far too comfortable straight up attacking people like, people like the judges law clerks, attorneys, prosecutors, things like that. And what we're seeing in this case is Judge Merchan at this point not tolerating it, right? You see Judge Merchan immediately pushing back. And I want to clarify too, like when Ben said that Donald Trump and his attorneys were accusing the court of conspiring with the DA and all the Department of Justice and all these things. The court means the judge. So what Donald Trump's attorney, what Merchan is saying to them is basically like, so you're accusing me of being a part of the criminal conspiracy. Like, how dare you? If you're going to bring that up in court, if that's what you're going to accuse me of, then you better have damn good proof of your accusations. And then it's like, well, you didn't mean it exactly like that. Okay. Trial's April 15th. And then there was like a great parting shot that Judge Merchan did also at the end, where Blanche asked to file a motion to further delay the trial because he's like, it's the same thing that they've tried to do in all these trials where they go, there's too much publicity. Let's do it at a time when this is going to be all died down, when it's not as crazy, as if that's ever like something that's going to happen. And the judge is like, all right, file your motion. The DA, you could file a motion and respond, but this is the exact quote from Judge Merchan. That's fine. I'll see you all on the 15th.
Meaning I'll see you at trial. We're gonna pick a jury on April 15th, and so that case is going to go. And I think we will have a verdict in that case by early summer. I mean, I think by mid-June, June 15th, 16th, 17th, somewhere in that time frame, I think we will have a verdict. And around that time frame, I think Donald Trump will be a felon. And by that time frame, you will have Trump having been hit with the E. Jean Carroll verdict, the New York Attorney General civil fraud verdict. He will be a felon, and then it'll be a close one, but there is the possibility that we will get an order by the Supreme Court on Trump's absurd absolute immunity claims as well, which could lead to the Washington, D.C. criminal trial taking place as well. That'll be a tough one given the time frame, but in terms of Trump being a felon before November, that is still a very high probability. And let's just put it this way. I know this for a fact because I remember when Karen Friedman Agnifilo interviewed Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. I know that nobody thought that Trump was ever going to be charged and was never going to be found liable in any case, period, full stop. He now has over $500 million in judgments against him, including liability for sexual assault and defamation, fraud, and by June, he'll likely be, or he could be, a convicted felon if the jury rules that way. If you told people, go back in your own mind 2 years ago and think if that was ever a possibility. And what we've simply been trying to show here on the MeidasTouch Network is through the intersection of law and politics, the way these things develop, I think, unfortunately slower than we'd like, but nonetheless, they develop and the wheels of justice turn, but they are turning. Some other parts of this press conference that I just want to share with you, and then I want to talk a little bit about the Republican Party.
And could I also just make one quick point as well, Ben? A lot of people say, why is Trump afforded all these opportunities, with appeals and all these things? And I want to remind folks that as frustrating as those setbacks could be during those appeals, they're designed to protect us, right? They're designed to protect the people of this country. It's purposely designed in a way and so that people could, have their due process. Now, what Donald Trump is able to do is he's able to exploit that system entirely, use it to his advantage and get favorable deals on a lot of these things. And one of the reasons he's able to do that is because he basically has an unlimited slush fund for legal expenses through his various PACs and donor money and you name it. So that's what makes his situation unusual. But, you know, this appeal process, as frustrating as it is for us, like it is one of the things that actually is good about the United States of America compared to a country like Russia, that we are afforded these rights. I just want to kind of say that, while also saying that Donald Trump takes advantage and exploits these systems in a way that we probably need to maybe take a look at some of the things that he's, you know.
Just like he takes advantage of the tax codes and says, "Oh, I'm a very smart person for doing that." You know, it's very frustrating. So we share the sentiment, y'all. And Ben, during this press conference, though, it was a weird one, like very weird. Like Donald Trump was rambling, mumbling, stumbling. He said some pretty bizarre things. Yeah.
Yeah, like he said, you can't have an election in the middle of a political season.
What?
Here, let's play this clip if we've got it.
You can't have an election in the middle of a political season. We just had Super Tuesday, and we had a Tuesday after a Tuesday already, and we had Louisiana the other day, a couple of days ago, and we won in a record number, the highest number ever recorded. But we're in the middle of an election right now.
Here he talks about bringing.
We had a Tuesday after a Tuesday, and then we have Louisiana. I mean, it's really that SNL skit. And just for the audio listeners, look, I'm not punching down here. The man looks awful. Like, he looks absolutely disheveled during this video.
Here he talks about bringing back crime to law and order. He wants to bring back the crime, he says.
And we'll bring crime back to law and order. We're going to get those words, law and order.
I've seen many episodes of Law and Order. Crime is a big portion of that show.
And then he doesn't rule out that he would accept money from a foreign government to pay his verdicts against him. Like, this is a pretty easy one where you would normally go, I absolutely would not do that. But the fact that the leader of the Republican Party is like, yeah, you know, I'd potentially take some Saudi money to pay my rape verdict or my sexual assault verdict. Like, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about doing it. And the very fact too, and I'll just mention this, that one of the things that Donald Trump's been arguing, and I'll give you his argument so you can hear it for itself. Trump argues that he only engaged in a sexual assault with his finger. And that's what he was found liable. Trump says that he was not found liable for rape, despite the fact that the federal judge Lewis Kaplan said that it's the same thing technically as rape. But Trump goes, you know what? It was simply a sexual assault with my finger. And then the fact that the Republican Party and Fox are all like jumping on to like defend, it was just a sexual assault with his finger. That's what it was. What are you talking about? It was a finger penetration.
It's that good GOP messaging I was talking about earlier.
That's what they're talking about right now. But anyway, here's Trump not denying that he could accept money from foreign governments for this type of stuff. Play the clip.
Would you ever accept money from a foreign government to pay the bond or their fines or?
No, I don't do that. I think you'd be allowed to, possibly. I don't know. I mean, if you go borrow from a big bank, many of the banks are outside of this. As you know, the biggest banks, frankly, are outside of our country. So you could do that, but I don't need to borrow money. I have a lot of money. I built a great company, but I don't want to have a crooked judge named Engoron and a crooked, horrible, the worst, I would say without question, Attorney General in the country.
You see, Americans aren't yet fully tuned into this, though. And that's why I think it's important that the Biden campaign keeps pushing these types of statements and saying, look, media, basically this is a message to the media. Like, y'all need to cover this stuff because this is some strange, weird, and very dangerous stuff. And if you present the American people with this data, the more people who see this, the more people go, whoa, I thought you were just kind of making this up. The media makes things feel like, oh, this is just a bunch of political attacks. And so, no. We're just showing you what it is that he's saying. Like, can you imagine in a debate type of setting when Trump is asked a question about any type of policy? Just think about some of the more basic questions. I mean, just think if he was asked questions about international policy, if he was asked questions about NATO, when he's asked questions about the J6 anthem. Hey, Mr. Trump, you sing that J6 anthem. Do you stand by that? Is that something that you're going to do, in the future? And Trump's go, it's a very beautiful song. It's a very beautiful, and they're hostages. I mean, remember from the first debate from 2020 when Trump said, stand back, stand by to the Proud Boys, and everyone was like, whoa, that's horrific. Trump singing he changed the lyrics to the national anthem and sings the song with the insurrectionists who he calls hostages. Think about that moment. He's asked very basic questions about overturning Roe v. Wade, about the Supreme Court that he's going to brag. When he's asked about healthcare, he's going to be asked these questions, and his answers are all going to be jaw-droppingly dangerous and horrific. And then the media is going to be like, oh, what a shocker. Oh, how did this even happen? It's like, if you did your job and showed this stuff to the people and didn't start hiring Ronna Romney McDaniel and do stupid stuff like that, the American people would be educated. Your responsibility, media, is to not be helplessly, just moved in whatever direction fascist wind blows you in. You need to cover this stuff. And Brett, I want you to cover Ronna Romney McDaniel. I want to talk about the disarray in the Republican Party, but I want to take our last quick break of the show.
Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health. When you're sleeping well, you can perform at your best mentally and physically. Proper sleep can also increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. Introducing Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. If you know me, you know that Dream has been an absolute game changer for my sleep. Sometimes I find myself up at night in bed with my thoughts and uneasiness. Well, that's not the case anymore because I started to drink Beam's Dream Powder. Prior to Beam's Dream Powder, the poor sleep and late nights staying up really affected my mood and energy, but not anymore. And today, our listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. Their science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon cocoa, and sea salt caramel with only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano-CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk, froth, and enjoy before bed. Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Meidas and use code Meidas at checkout. That's BEAM.com/Meidas and use code Meidas for up to 40% off.
Ever tried to break a bad habit and felt like you're climbing Everest in flip-flops? Yeah, we've been there too, but here's a breath of fresh air. Fume. It's not about giving up, it's about switching up. Fume takes your habit and simply makes it better, healthier, and a whole lot more enjoyable. Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your habit. The first time I tried Fume, it was way more flavorful than I thought, and it feels very fresh. The look and feel of Fume is very sleek, it's well weighted, perfectly balanced, and extremely fun to fidget with. Plus, Fume's just released a magnetic stand for your Fume, so there's no more losing it around the house. It's built with fidgeting in mind. You can spin your Fume around and around and around it. Start the year off right with the good habit by going to tryfume.com/Meidas, tryfum.com/Meidas, and getting the Journey Pack today. Fume is giving listeners of the show 10% off when you use our code Meidas to help make starting the good habit that much easier. Go to tryfume.com/Meidas and use our code Meidas. Jordy.
Let's go. Let's go. Shout out Fume. Shout out Beam. So my wife and I, real quick tangent, my wife and I, we just had a kid. Very excited about that. We rotate. We rotate hours where we do the feedings at night, and sometimes we even rotate nights. So last night was my night, quote unquote, off, and I had some Beam Dream Powder. It knocked me right out. Had the best night's sleep. Woke up today super refreshed, ready to take on the day and help out the baby even more. Yeah, fantastic. And shout out Fume. Guys, we work really hard on the sponsors. I've heard some great feedback. There's a link in descriptions, both the YouTube and the audio. Click them, use their promo code, let them know we sent you. It's really helpful for the show.
Hey, Brett, tell us about what in the world was NBC thinking with Ronna Romney McDaniel? And this goes to, and we could talk about in that same breath, the just complete chaos that is the Republican Party. More Republicans leaving the party, their majorities getting even more narrow. Marjorie Taylor Greene attacking the remaining kind of moderates, the moderates who are basically leaving. And here's the thing, though. When you bring on someone like a Ronna Romney McDaniel, it's not a normal Republican. And by the way, I'd be fine. There was Congressmember Gallagher who just left from Wisconsin, a moderate Republican. Go bring on people like that who speak about democracy. She's someone who's relentlessly attacked our democracy. Tell us about it, Brett.
Ronna McDaniel called January 6th legitimate political discourse. Let's start there, okay? Because I know what everybody's thinking when they see this news from NBC. They are thinking WTF NBC. And I was just mouth agape, I wouldn't say in shock, because this is just so typical of these legacy media stations, and it drives me insane. And I've said this on the show numerous times. I truly do not like talking about the legacy media. I do not like speaking about, I don't like criticizing to an extent, because I believe the free press is incredibly important. But time and time again, they show that they have all this responsibility. And what do they end up doing? They end up uplifting the worst people in our country. They end up uplifting the people who are trying to tear down our country, and they reward them for their bad acts. So you have Ronna Romney McDaniel, and this rot in the legacy media goes far just beyond NBC News, because the more we learn, the worse this looks, not only for NBC, but for all the major networks. Because what we're learning is it was supported by, first off, the deal at NBC was supported by the leaders of all the NBC networks. So it was supported by the president of MSNBC. It was supported by the president of NBC, the person who runs their streaming service. All the leaders of NBC supported this. And so they announced it. There was, of course, immediate swift backlash. And what happened was, after that, they tried to backtrack a little bit. They tried to say, oh, but she's not actually going to appear on MSNBC. She's actually not allowed on MSNBC, which then ended up being kind of refuted in another publication, which said, oh no, she's actually allowed on MSNBC, but it's going to be up to the specific hosts. And the specific hosts of the various shows have said that they specifically do not want her on. So they're kind of in a mess over there. We heard that CNN and ABC were also both in this battle to get Ronna McDaniel on their channel. Why is this person such a coveted person to come on your channel? I don't even understand why you'd want this person as a contributor. She's not somebody who is well liked by if you want insight into Trump world, she's not somebody who's liked by those people. If you want insight into more mainstream kind of normal thinking Republicans, she's not liked by those people. She seems isolated by almost anybody. I don't even see the intellectual advantage of having her on any of this show. And one of the most twisted things about this is this apparently all stems back to that disastrous CNN town hall that they did with Donald Trump. Apparently, NBC really wanted to do that town hall. And when CNN got it, the execs at NBC were devastated. And they watched that train wreck that we all watched. They watched the backlash that CNN received after it. They watched CNN's ratings plummet. And for some strange reason that I cannot wrap my mind around, they went, I want some of that for us. We need to get that. That's exactly what we need here. How do you look at that and learn all the wrong lessons? And so that's kind of the context around this decision. And there's still all this chaos around it. I know there's a lot of internal strife at the network with reporters, with employees devastated by this decision and voicing their concern. And I was honestly very happy to see their hosts and people like that speaking out both over the weekend and today. And I know we're about to have Rachel Maddow come on later tonight on MSNBC. I'm sure she is not going to be quiet about this. I'm actually quite curious to hear what she has to say about this issue. But yesterday, Jordy, your guy Chuck Todd, Chuck Todd coming out swinging on the network at his own network. I want you to watch this clip of Chuck Todd because I do think we never really seen anything like this where somebody criticizes their own network that they are on in one of their biggest shows, on one of their biggest weekend shows. Here's Chuck Todd from Meet the Press on Sunday.
Dive right in. What were your takeaways?
Look, let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation. Because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah.
Is she speaking for herself or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? Once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So what about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination. So that's where you begin here. And so when NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News? And when we make deals like this, and I've been at this company a long time, you're doing it for access to all.
It's stunning to hear Chuck Todd, who's like their head of politics too, say something like that. And here was Joe Scarborough this morning on Morning Joe and Mika. They also addressed this issue in no uncertain terms.
Let's talk about the hiring of former RNC chair Ronna McDaniel.
Well, she was on Sunday's Meet the Press. It was her first appearance since NBC News hired her as a political analyst. I know you won't be surprised to know that we've been inundated with calls this weekend, as have most people connected with this network, about NBC's decision to hire her. We learned about the hiring when we read about it in the press on Friday. We weren't asked our opinion of the hiring, but if we were, we would have strongly objected to it for several reasons, including, but not limited to, as lawyers might say, Ms. McDaniel's role in Donald Trump's fake elector scheme and her pressuring election officials to not certify election results while Donald Trump was on the phone.
To be clear, we believe NBC News should seek out conservative Republican voices to provide balance in their election coverage. But it should be conservative Republicans, not a person who used her position of power to be an anti-democracy election denier. And we hope NBC will reconsider its decision. It goes without saying that she will not be a guest on Morning Joe in her capacity as a paid contributor.
So it seems like they're trying to sort of split the baby here by saying, oh, well, she's not going to be on MSNBC. None of these hosts want her, but she'll still be on NBC, which is watched by more people. I don't know how that helps. And she'll also be on the streaming network. But I think as we see this outpouring of pressure and as we see Maddow, like I said tonight, I don't know how they're going to keep this up. And Chuck Todd just released a statement also on X, and he said, this issue isn't about ideology. It's about basic truth. Those trying to make this a left-right issue are being intentionally dishonest. This is about whether honest journalists are supposed to lend their credibility to someone who has intentionally tried to ruin ours. This is somebody who has attacked MSNBC, has called them MSDNC, who has attacked them as liars and frauds throughout her whole career. This is somebody who supported Donald Trump through the January 6th insurrection and boosted him and his worst impulses every single step of the way. This is somebody who is just a straight up liar. And NBC News had the nerve, amid other layoffs at their own organization, to pay Ronna Romney McDaniel $300,000 a year, reportedly, which is like more than any of their contributors get. They value her that much to be on this network. And I think the one clip I do want to show you guys, I'm not going to play her lying and her gaslighting from her interview with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, but I do want to show you this one answer because I think it's very revealing about who Ronna McDaniel is as a person and exactly why this is not the person that you want to hire for your network.
Right, well, let's talk about the election now. Donald Trump says one of his first acts, if he is reelected to a second term, would be, quote, to free those charged and convicted of crimes related to January 6th. Do you support that?
I want to be very clear. The violence that happened on January 6th is unacceptable. It doesn't represent our country. It certainly does not represent my party. We should not be attacking the Capitol. We should not be having violence. I said it that day. I put a statement out that day that this is not acceptable. If you attacked our Capitol and you've been convicted, then that should stay.
So then, but to the question though, do you disagree with Trump saying he's going to free those who've been charged?
I do not think people who committed violent acts on January 6th should be freed.
So you disagree with that? He's been saying that for months. Ronna, why not speak out earlier? Why just speak out about that now?
When you're the RNC chair, you kind of take one for the whole team, right? Now I get to be a little bit more myself, right? This is what I believe. I don't think violence should be in our political discourse, Republican or Democrat. And I disagree with that.
Wow. So when she's the leader of the RNC, she believes her role is to promote violence as part of our political discourse. And now
legitimate political discourse, a direct quote.
Yeah, that's her exact words. And then also you notice that she scrubbed all of her social media when she got this job. So like that's one of their tactics as well that we always call out, which is that this gaslighting by the MAGA Republicans over and over again, is always very kind of problematic.
And I just want to say this too, when you're watching those clips and she's trying to reinvent herself in sort of real time, Brett and Ben, what you just understand too is how disliked she truly is from the modern day Republican Party as well. Like she did all their bidding. She changed her name, right? She no longer goes by Romney McDaniel. She's Ronna McDaniel. She dropped the Romney to appease Trump. She did everything in her power to appease Donald Trump. And what did Donald Trump do? I want Lara Trump to take over. Kicked her right to the curb. And so now all of a sudden, Ronna Romney McDaniel has nowhere to turn. And what has the legacy media done? They've learned the exact wrong lessons. And they say, I want her on my show. I want NBC. I want Ronna to be a paid contributor for me. What?
Well, I want to do something that the legacy media doesn't do, which is I'll issue a correction. She only scrubbed her positions when giving interviews now and changed her mindset. She technically did not scrub and delete it on her social. She only changed her persona when she's giving interviews. So she's a completely different person now. That's
but Ben doesn't
will accept it. I will accept the nuance for my producers right now.
By the way,
here you go. Her position
here you go though. I appreciate NBC and MSNBC and CNN doing all the nonsense. You know why? Because it just allows more people to find the MeidasTouch network. You know what I mean? Like we are building a rocket ship with an incredible community of just pro-democracy warriors out there that actually truly care, that just want the facts, that just want the data, that don't want to be gaslit by a Ronna McDaniel. It's unbelievable that.
And I agree, Jordy, there with what Joe. I agree with what Scarborough said there and what Mika said there.
By the way, shout out Chuck Todd. I never thought I'd say that. I've been very critical of Chuck Todd. It's weird though. Ever since he's left that position of being in the seat that now Kristen Welker helms, he's been a lot more vocal and really been speaking his mind a bit more.
I think his contract's almost up.
It's interesting, but the statements he issued are very on point and poignant, and he's done a really good job over these last couple of months and been an important voice. So shout out him.
My point is that there may be few and far between, but there are actual conservatives still out there who we should listen to, whose ideas I may disagree with, but they have valid points that they should be able to make. This MAGA thing, this Trump thing, this election denialism, this anti-democratic stuff, that's not great. And what we're seeing right now in Congress is the result of bringing on that MAGA chaos and enabling that MAGA chaos. We're seeing the Republican Party right now at war with itself, and they don't even know what to do. We saw Mike Johnson once again last week get bailed out by the Democratic Party, where the Democrats sided with him and they did a compromise bill on this made up thing that Mike Johnson called the minibus. Instead of an omnibus, it's a minibus, to pass a funding bill through to do the bare minimum and keep the government open. And so immediately as this is going on, before the vote even passes, what happens? Marjorie Taylor Greene files a motion to vacate the chair. Now, that will not actually be brought up until she actually physically goes up and voices it on the actual floor. But she has officially filed that motion right now. She has it in her back pocket. Basically, whenever she wants to raise it, she could go and she could raise it. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is mad at Mike Johnson for the crime of Mike Johnson just like working with Democrats on a basic bill to keep the government open. Here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say.
The Republican majority, I support us winning the majority next year, but we cannot move forward having a Republican Speaker of the House that is doing the bidding of Democrats, that is allowing Chuck Schumer to drive our legislation, bringing bills to the floor that the White House cannot wait to sign into law.
And the interesting thing this time is that even the hardline Republicans out there, like the Freedom Caucus people, all the people who we show you and you go, these people are freaking nuts. They weren't going along with Marjorie's games this time. Like they were speaking out and they like Mike Johnson. And you see somebody like a Clay Higgins, who's as crazy as can be, coming out, speaking out against Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion.
I consider Marjorie Taylor Greene to be my friend. She's still my friend, but she just made a big mistake. You know, trying to vacate Mike Johnson's, I totally oppose that. Listen, Mike is a very good man. He begins every day from the right place. He's deeply principled. He's like a brother to me. And to think that one of our Republican colleagues would call for his ouster right now, it's abhorrent to me, and I oppose it. I stand with Mike Johnson. He is.
Clay Higgins gives me the ick, as the kids say.
What a weird form of politics that we live in right now. It's like very clear that none of them talk to each other, which is obvious because they can't get anything actually accomplished on their side. Where Clay Higgins takes to social media to send his message to Marjorie Taylor Greene that he disagrees with her. Like it's just so bizarre, and they're just so pathetic. I just can't believe there's a party that exists right now that is that, and it's just sad.
But meanwhile, Jordy, they're all going down one by one out of Congress. We saw Congressman Mike Gallagher joining Ken Buck and resigning early. And he said he's going to leave April 19th, which is kind of an FU to the GOP because it's after the deadline whereby which you have to set a special election. So it would leave his seat open until, the results of the November election. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene right now is freaking out and saying that we have to expel him before he quits. You can't quit. You're fired. She's trying to basically, bless you, man.
Bless you,
she's trying to, pull this. And as of now, with Ken Buck's resignation this week, you basically have the Republicans now only with 2 votes to spare on any given vote. After Gallagher leaves, you're going to have Republicans with just 1 vote to spare. So as they're trying to push all this BS impeachment nonsense, as they're trying to do all these unpopular policies, as they're trying to expel whatever the heck they're trying to do, they don't even have the power to do it. And they are losing more and more members of the House by the day who see the writing on the wall. And what do? They're doubling down on bad policies, right? They're releasing their plan, which you went over last week, where they want to put in policies that would get rid of IVF, that would get rid of gut Social Security, remove the provisions from the Affordable Care Act that allow people to stay on their plans through age 26. And you see, once again, Democrats just doing the work and getting stuff done and quietly doing the job. I'll just show you this graph if I have it, which just shows you a very tangible thing that improves people's lives before we kind of sign out here. And this is the amount of student debt that we have in this country. I just want to show you because this is stuff that affects people's lives. Student debt in this country, look at it under Biden, okay? The curve is bending downward right now for the first time in years. Finally. And why is that? It's because of the student loan forgiveness programs under the Biden administration, despite the fact that Republicans have tried to block it and that the courts have blocked this, because over $144 billion in student loan forgiveness for nearly 4 million borrowers has been given out. That's the kind of stuff that actually impacts people's lives in a positive way. These predatory practices that have completely destroyed people's lives, quite frankly, where people don't know what they're getting into, where people pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year and don't see the principals on their balance decrease because all of that is going to interest. And so it's good to actually see a party, a president who is actually thinking, how could I ease the burden of American families? How could I ease the burden of people who just want a shot to do well in this country and not all this MAGA craziness and infighting? And I'm happy that everybody finally is like, enough of this garbage, right? You're even seeing it. You saw it from Democrats and Republicans with this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing. They're like, enough. We are not letting you MAGA maniacs, Marjorie Taylor Greene, take over the people's house. We will not let that stand, Ben.
But think about who Donald Trump has at his side at all of these rallies. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Who would Donald Trump put in a major position? Like, I would not be surprised if Marjorie Taylor Greene would be named ambassador to the UN, if she would be given a position like Secretary of State, like if she would be given a position like Defense Secretary, that she would be given a position like someone who would lead the Treasury. And you go, oh, Ben, that's ridiculous. Really? You think so? You think that's ridiculous after all of the other things that Donald Trump's doing, where he's hanging out with, where he's changed the lyrics of our national anthem, that he wouldn't put someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene? Guess who's going to be running the CIA? People like Kash Patel. Guess who's going to be running the Department of Justice? People like Jeff Clark, who literally tried to destroy the Department of Justice. Who do you think's going to be running, the Secretary of State? People like Mike Flynn. People like that, I think, will ultimately be run. I mean, those are the types of people who are going to be. Who do you think is going to be his chief of staff? People like Paul Manafort. Who do you think is going to be in these positions? Who do you think? I mean, it's not Don Jr. will probably run a major department. That's what's at stake right there. These are very serious times that require very serious discussions. And I like to have fun here on the MeidasTouch Network, but it's important to always direct and reflect on the seriousness of this all, that these are life and death issues. And as we always say, we welcome here real conservatives. We welcome here mainstream Republicans. We welcome independents. We welcome people who aren't affiliated with any type of politics, who just want to see what's going on. And of course, progressives and liberals, Democrats. Our whole thing is, let's bring people together. And that's also a testament to you, the Meidas Mighty, for helping build a movement that's not about destroying or tearing people down or moving people into their own tribes. Like, it's all about, how do we bring people together in support of our democracy, in support of our Constitution, in support of logic and truth and empathy and love. And we're going to keep on building that together. On our 4-year birthday here at Meidas, we continue to grow. I want to give a shout out to a lot of the channels that we have official partnerships with as well. First off, I want to thank, before doing that, I want to thank all of our contributors. Every one of you. If I went down and listed all of you, it would take a long time. So thank you, though, to all of our correspondents and contributors. I want to thank Salty. I want to thank Jeremy. I want to thank Sydney. I want to thank Hayden. I want to thank all of the people behind the scenes who continue to work really hard every single day. So thank you to us all, and a special thanks to Salty, who's really been there with us from the very, very start of this, and who's built an incredible team that, frankly, you have all helped us build. So thank you for that. I want to give a shout out to some of our new partnerships. We've got True Crime MTN. You can subscribe to that. That's where we hear you loud and clear. You want some hot takes that's not political to take your mind off of politics. We're not going to do that on this channel. So we built out True Crime MTN, led by one of the most successful prosecutors, one of the top lawyers in the world.
You did a take on there today. That was cool to see.
I did a take on there. Yeah.
Oh,
yes. Go check out my take. I will not be doing a lot of takes there. I'm going to focus on I'm more of a political take guy, but I enjoy doing that.
It was nice seeing it, though.
So True Crime MTN, you can subscribe there. Want to give a shout out to the Tennessee Brando channel. You can subscribe there. I've been loving the videos that he's been doing. want to give a shout out to Adam Mockler, the Gen Z channel. Shout out to Mockler. I want to give a shout out to Talking Feds, where we get really in the weeds on stuff that former federal prosecutors like Harry Littman talk about. So check out those, subscribe to all of those channels. And if you hear more about our 4-year birthday story, we're going to bring that discussion over to Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You know, one of the tiers when you become a Patreon is a tier that allows you to show up as a producer. Check out the different tiers. They have different functionalities, but check that out. So I just want to give a special thanks to all of our patrons and our honorary producers as well. There are the names of all of our honorary producers. When you become an honorary producer, your name shows up there, and you will always be a part of this podcast by having your name on there. So thank you to our honorary producers. The song we sing at the end is the Meidas Mighty Anthem that's actually sung by Tennessee Brando, and it's about praising our democracy and uniting together against fascism. And look, the best way you can help—
And it's on Apple Music and iTunes. You can just stream it for free if you have those services. Apple Music and Spotify, Meidas Mighty Anthem.
So the best way you can help grow this platform is just by subscribing, share the word, and let's keep on building this together. Thank you for watching. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
Standing strong against the fascists, we sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.